Okay? This is a Dr. Starline voice warm up. This is gonna go horribly wrong, but I have to practice for tomorrow's stream. So, yep. Uh, Apparently this is a funny article. We're gonna see how long I last before I start breaking character or something. I don't know. Okay. Uh, Dr. Starline voice warm up / practice in 3, 2, 1. I told you this was gonna be stupid. Okay. Okay. I should have read this article before. Why am I doing this? I just click on a random link, Markiplier, and put it in its description. This is dumb. ah. Kazuyuki, Ironhead, Fujita made a fighting career out of having a thick skull. This is that skull story. Like many mixed martial artists, Fujita started as a wrestler. Unlike many mixed martial artists, he never learned a second skill. It would take him 60 minutes to describe to you what he thinks a kick is, and he attempts submission holds the same way he tries on hats, confusedly putting in random directions with no results. That's because his skull is measurably thicker than a normal skull. If you were to take an x-ray of it, you'd fire your medical equipment for we're drunk. Shit. He was created by filling a cement truck. That didn't last very long. He was created by filling a cement truck with coconut sperm, and no one was more surprised than that cement truck. Since he was diagnosed with this head, he has been searching for the man who would be the one to destroy it. I understand many readers don't follow or relate to the sport of mixed martial arts, but those readers are in luck because I speak fluent nerd. Oh god. Each section will have a nerd-splanation to help everyone enjoy this skull's terrible and ridiculous story. Oh, god damn it, I'm dyslexic. Okay. In Fujita's fourth professional fight, he faced 260 veiny pounds of world-class wrestling and emotional issues named Mark Kerr. Using a style of kickboxing based around the tango and signaling rescue planes, Fujita hopped around like a scarecrow in gunfire while Mark Kerr blasted him in the face with punches and knees. Mark Kerr wasn't exactly Bruce Lee himself, but when you bench press 600 pounds, just swinging your pole through the air is going to knock salmon out of every river for 2 miles. No explanation. To put the damage Vegeta's face took into perspective, steroid users couldn't measure their... What the hell? Couldn't measure there for an entire year when Mark hit a button on a calculator and killed the number 2. I'm sure you've seen a shortened bus filled with retarded children. What is this article? Oh, okay. Well, that was just a regular school bus before Mark Kerr waved at it. For 3 minutes, everything either Oh, fuck. For 3 minutes, everything either fighter did resulted in a hot pot of Mark Kerr getting smashed into Fujita's medically impossible head. It looked like an industrial training video on how to turn a human into soup using just one naked man. If I was Fujita's family, I would have already ordered a box of gorilla-sized diapers and flashcards so he could relearn all our names. But this face suicide was all a part of Fujita's plan. After 5 minutes of savage, something assault, Mark Kerr's brain and body agreed that it was time to give up. He went fetal and Fujita punched the back of his head for 10 minutes, which, in back of the head time, is, effing forever. This surprising win led to the invention of the Fujita item, which would serve him well through his career. Let's go over the basics. 1. Receiving beating until opponent falls asleep. Maul opponent, excuse me. 2. Maul opponent's unconscious body. 3. Realize that the celebration banana was a trick and that you've once again been led into a cage for safe transport. Ow. I'm gonna cut something out. Next, Fujita fought Ken Shamrock. Throughout Ken's long MMA career, this is easily the greatest performance he has ever had. He unloaded on Fujita. Every punch and kick of every combination landed exactly on Fujita's chin. I swear, Fujita mailed Ken Shamrock a list of every move he was going to do, and Ken got together with Jean-Claude Van Damme to plan the most destructive and beautiful way to counter them. Jean-Claude maybe did a little consulting on Fujita's side too, since the only move that Fujita landed in the entire fight was a crotch attack. This showdown continued for 6 minutes. But skipping something again? God. But Shamrock was no match for FSS. Something strange happened. Ken beat this man so hard that he, no bullshit, started having heart palpitations and his corner threw in the towel. What? 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 1 minute. Okay, we're gonna continue. Seriously, Fujita took a beating so severe that the man doing it had a goddamn heart attack. I guess it was a strategy devised by his stand-up couch. By his stand-up coach and Nicole Smith's dad. And while doctors were treating Ken Shamrock, the only thing that was hurt on Fujita was the team of archaeologists that happened to be exploring his skull's upper mantle at the time. When creating characters... Oh, hold on. No explanation. When creating characters in video games, you often have to make sacrifices. For example, your rogue doesn't have enough points to learn mutilate and killing spree. It is the same thing when scientists create igneous-skulled punching bag monsters. If you spring for invincible head, there aren't enough points left over to put into agility. Vegeta actually has a negative 65 to dodge, which means cars instinctively swerve into him, and it takes him 10 minutes and a man-shaped hole in the wall to get through a doorway. Japan has a childlike fascination with strange matchups. If two things are stupidly different, Japan will put them in a cage and see what happens. All their fight cards have at least one match between a giant fat guy and something something that looks like it should be making Christmas toys. If a man with no arms and a man with no legs started learning karate, the same light bulb would appear over every head in Japan. That's right. Glue them together and see if That's right. Glue them together and see if it can kill a panda. Through their own experiments, every Japanese parent knows exactly how many rhinoceros how many rhinoceros beetles you have to put into a baby's crib to make it a fair fight. I guarantee you that when the first cheeseburger comes to life, Japan will throw it in the ring with a sumo wrestler before it ever gets a chance to lead us to our better lives in the sky. So it's no surprise that fight promoters decided to put him in the ring with Crow Cop. Take the man with the crazy hard head and put him in the ring with the guy who kicks head crazy hard. The result might surprise you. Partially exploded head. In an explosion of blood and Crow Cop measured Fujita's slow motion takedown attempts and threw a knee into his eyeball just as he was coming in. Fujita didn't even notice. It takes so long for the light to reach the center of his head that he wouldn't even know one of his eyes was gone for 11 minutes. So all he did was finish the takedown and try to drown Crow Cop in ocular blood. The referee had to inflate a life raft just to paddle over and stop the fight. No explanation. For a Japanese fight promoter, Fujita's cranium is like a boss monster they're seeing for the first time. They're so compelled and excited to destroy it, but the only thing they can do is hit it with every weapon in their inventory until something works. This was their eureka moment. Holy water bounces off, Ifrit hits for 0, bubble lead actually heals him. Fuck! Look at how much Crow Cop took off. What is this article? Yeah, you guys leave some feedback for my Starline voice as I try not to break character continuing forward. After engineers designed a needle capable of it, they stitched Fujita's skin back together and he was given a rematch against Crow Cop. Fujita should win this run, right? I mean, what are the chances that something with almost 100% certainty will happen twice? In what took him 29 seconds, Fujita watched the 18 seconds of the first fight carefully and devised the perfect plan to defeat Crow Cop. Exactly the same thing. He charged in with takedowns and Crow Cop countered by kneeing him in the head. But instead of taking them with the front of his head, he blocked them with the top of his head. For crashing knee after crashing knee, Crow Cop's giraffe legs were screaming for Fujita's spine to become paralyzed, and the fucking thing was too stupid to understand. FFS doesn't work against Crow Cop. Instead of throwing frantic combinations, Crow Cop likes to take his time and throw one big kick that only gets described during an urology. I said that wrong. You can't tire him out or give him a heart attack by pretending to be a soccer ball. The only thing Fujita's invincibility did for him in this fight was let Crow Cop's knees manufacture cubic zirconium against his forehead until time ran out. No explanation. Imagine for a moment that Scooter, the GoBot that turns into a scooter, fought the Constructicons. What? Is this suddenly Transformers? If moments into the fight they formed Devastator and you stomped on him, you'd be surprised at how simple and unsurprising it was. That's what this fight was like. No one could have ever predicted that every single obvious thing that we expected would happen. By this point in his career, the world... God. I didn't even eat before I did this. Why am I burping? By this point in his career, the world now knows that Kazuki Fujita has only two assets, a clumsy takedown and a force field where his brain reflexes should be. So Pride Fighting Champions decided he was ready to take on the best fighter in the world, Fedor breaking character for this, Fedor Emelianenko. Okay, whatever. fight promoters apparently gave up on finding someone who could beat the guy, and now they were just using him to conduct further stress tests on Fujita's head. They were sure that Fido would... Oh, what? They were sure that Fido would be the thing that... They were sure that Fido would be the thing that... to finally crack it open and allow evil scientists to reverse engineer his remains. Almost certainly to grow a more durable sex melon and unkillable robot to fuck them. What? This article is actually cracked. Then Fujita did something that surprised even him. He almost won. He landed a knee-buckling counterpunch that to this day is the closest anyone has come to beating Fido. It was in a waste of his body's natural punching bag camouflage. He was about to beat someone by hitting them. Unfortunately, Fido found a practical solution to Fujita. Get behind him, grab his unbreakable head, and yank it the fuck off his body. The official fight records call it The official fight records call it a rear naked choke, but that's like calling Tiananmen Square a wet t-shirt contest. If the ref hadn't stopped him, Fido was going to take that head home to his spaceship and polish it. No explanation. I think that last part was already a nerd. Krokop proved that Fujita's head is living tissue over a meadow endoskeleton, and then Fido proved that it will surrender if you start to sever it from its body. But Japanese fight promoters still hadn't gotten the chance to see someone just pound on it until it cracked. Will it explode when you expose its core? Is it filled with something you can rape with an octopus? Mimic? That's when it hit them. Wanderlei Silva. That guy hates skulls. At the time, the country of Japan was using Wanderlei Silva to control the fighter population, and they occasionally dragged him on a chain through the ocean to hunt whales in the least humane way possible. The fight was a massacre. Fujita tried every both of his techniques against Wanderlei. He slowly waited to get punched and laid on top of him without doing anything. Neither worked, and Wanderlei eventually got to his feet and stalked Fujita like a Japanese octopus in an all-female prison. Kids, this is, I am marking this as 16 plus. He hit him as hard as you can hit someone, many times. And every time Fujita fell down, Silva kicked him in the head as if he was going for a 70-yard field goal. None of this did anything. Half the arena was crying since they thought they were watching one ape administer the death penalty to another, and the other half was dead from shockwaves. Sylvia kept punching him down, kicking him, watching him get up and starting from the top. Someone outside the ring, or probably just a chunk of sharp shrapnel, hit the bell, and the referee declared it a knockout. But Fujita was already back up before the words were out of his mouth. Why'd they stop him? Why'd they stop it? He had Wanderlei right where he wanted him. No explanation. Science can't explain this. Wanderlei dropped a shock and awe campaign on the head and couldn't hurt it. This fight was stopped only to get everyone's car alarm to shut up. It had nothing to do with Fujita's safety. Fujita was probably back to identifying symbol shapes that very night. Somehow I lost my Starline voice. What just happened? Okay. James Thompson is an imposing figure. So imposing that during the stare down, Fujita admired his abs and groin area and gave him an approving thumbs up. It was unprecedentedly inappropriate, but there was a science to this flirting. FFS works a lot better if your opponent comes at you in a completely incoherent homophobic rage. And James Thompson did. Thompson manhandled him, hitting him with hundreds of unanswered punches and knees. He was going to prove that he wasn't gay, even if he had to thrust every last bit of his vitamin supplemented shirtless body against Fujita's beast-like hide. It probably smelled like a leather smoothie, but gayer than that sounds. Sorry for absolutely skipping five sentences ahead. No explanation. After taking an 8-minute beating that mocked mankind's entire understanding of physics and medicine, Fujita started throwing his own punches, drunken woman-like punches. But when you're James Thompson and you recently spent 8 minutes heaving 550 pounds of violent meat around a ring, you'll take any excuse you can get for a nap. By this point of the fight, Fujita could have screamed boo and knocked him out. But he had to save his voice. He had a screaming date with Lau Ferengo earlier. Later. Alistair Overeem is a Dutch kickboxer who looks like someone at Marvel Comics drew a man genetically engineered to fuck your girlfriend. Oh god, this article is all over the place. At the end of 2009, this giant black thought beast hit something with a need that adjusted the Earth's tides. Police were already tapping off Alistair's legs before Irwin dropped face first onto the canvas with his eyes open. During the replay, you can actually hear the knee call gunshot wounds proceeds. I should not have read that. This is definitely 16 plus. Do not watch if you're under 16. I beg of you. Japanese fight promoters saw this and had a great idea. Restraints like that taste like fish. But right before that, this could be the man to finally shatter Fujita's iron head. They'd set up the fight for New Year's Eve. The 39-year-old wrestler and an advantageous birth defect versus 6.5 feet of death-dealing emasculation. I don't know if that's a word. This wasn't just a battle between genetic perfection and someone born out of head sorcery. It was possibly Japan's last chance to experiment on the skull that had given them so much joy and baffling medical data over the years. Just a short of the literal definition, the fight began with Alistair beating the shit out of Fujita. Kazuyuki Fujita had been in a constant state of what you and I would call near death for 10 years, but this is the first time I've seen him look so scared. After Overeem lands 2 knees, Fujita backs into the corner, then sheepishly tries sneaking past. Alistair punches him back into the corner, and lands a 3rd knee that I swear lights on fucking fire before it impacts. IDW text bubble. That's nice. Here's the crazy part, though. He doesn't get back up. He stays on the ground holding his head, as baffled as the rest of us. I have a theory that the previous 17,000 blows to the head all gave him amnesia, and this one Looney Tunes gave back his head all its memories back. Japan finally got what it wanted. There was no candy surprise inside Fujita. There was no tiny pilot demanding to know why humans broke his apeship. Just a guy with a decade's worth of fist craters and bad decisions catching up to him all at the same time. It'd be almost tragic if you could look away from the slow motion rippling of Alistair's muscles in the instant replay. No explanation. In the Secret Wars, the Human Torch was being choked by Ultron, a robot completely encased in adamantium. Obviously, fire doesn't do much against any metal from the should I have watched Ultron? Cunamium family. So Torch went nova. So he would at least look awesome as he died. However, Ultron stopped. Is it Ultron or Ultron? Nah. Excuses. His shell was intact, but the nova flames melted something important inside of him. I think that's what we're dealing with here. Alistair couldn't figure out how to crack Fujita's skull, so he simply hit it hard enough that everything in it just turned to liquid. One would imagine that we're talking about a brain, but remember, this is the same man who fought all these terrifying people with his face alone. Would a brain come up with that plan? There's so much we don't know. I say we go back to the drawing board with the Fujita skull experiments, Japan. I missed them already. Wow, this was... So, like and comment and tell me how my Starline voice went.